Hi, welcome to Friday Night Live. And this week we're going to be talking about loss. Now, loss is one of those inevitabilities of life. And the reason we wanted to do this Friday Night Live on loss is because both of us, especially Jules, has personally experienced a lot of losses. And Jules here had been talking to, hundreds and hundreds of people via your Facebook page, and they've got a lot of relief from her words. So, Jules, you lost your dad, your stepdad, your fiance, and your daughter, and then more recently, your son in a custody battle. So there's been a number of kind of like losses. What does loss mean to you, and how do you kind of navigate yourself through it?
Loss, holistically, in the way I look back at it, it has a couple of different meanings. What I mean by that is, with my first group of losses, if you will, I thought that I was supposed to grieve a certain way, had a time limit, was supposed to, shed my amount of tears and then stop and move on. But that wasn't the case. And given that wasn't the case, I began to judge myself. And in judging myself, I felt even worse because I wasn't grieving the way I thought I should be grieving. Then moving forward with Sophia and Seth, I realized the power of the present moment, that these losses, although severe, they weren't happening again and again. And what I mean by that is, when we grab onto a situation and hold on to it, we're reliving it as though it's happening right now. And just surrendering to this very moment, and the quietness of this very moment, and the wisdom of this very moment brought peace. And it wasn't a continuation of peace. It had its ups and downs, and just like a contraction, it had the intensities of the pain, but then also the calmness of the lulls, of the silence, of the quietness in between each contraction, if you will. And knowing that there's no way to grieve, there's no specific way to grieve, and don't you dare let anybody tell you how you should be grieving. And if you want to cry, you cry. If you want to celebrate, you celebrate. It's unique to you. And there's beauty in that. There's growth in that. And there's always love in that. And also, the love that you had for your significant other, your child, your parent, your beloved pet, that love doesn't go anywhere. It just changes form. It just transitions from physical to non-physical. The love is always there. I promise you. Yeah.
It reminds me when my father passed away. He was Guyanese, Guyana in South America. And it was within his culture at the time that when someone passes away, they have a celebration. Yeah. And so myself, my brother wore white suits, and we celebrated, kind of, not being in England, it was kind of hard to do that, but we kind of celebrated his passing over, because that was like a Guyanese tradition. But everyone in England thought we were slightly crackers, because in England you wear black and you mourn. Right. And there really isn't a wrong or a right thing here. It's just, because, you read these books telling you should mourn, these stages of mourning, you have to do it like this. And what happens is you read a book to try and to help you get over a loss, and it can make you feel worse because
Yeah.
you feel you're not doing it properly, you're not
Right.
getting over it quick enough, or like you got over it quickly. Not that you got over it, but you had a very different experience when your teenage daughter passed away, and then you got judgmental of yourself because you should have been grieving like people have been telling you. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, I was looking down at Sophia, her physical body, and this overwhelming feeling of love. And that's what I mean. The love that she had for me, or has for me, and I have for her, is still very present. It's still very much here and alive. It's just transitioned from physical to non-physical. And embracing that, surrendering to what is in this very moment, because it was so easy for me to think about the what could be, like the grandchildren and her getting married and graduating from college and all of that. But the embracing this very moment and living in this very moment brought peace. And it brought comfort, and it brought silence and a calmness within. And I know many people thought that I was in denial and that I was going to crash. And that led me to begin to second guess myself. I'm not doing it right. I'm not grieving the way I should be grieving. But that's not true. We are all unique, beautiful expressions of this divine life essence. And I want to stress unique. Individual experiences will arise from you, and embrace that. You do what makes you feel okay inside. If you're coming from a place of love, you'll never go wrong. If you're coming from a place of that beautiful silence, that innate intelligence inside, it'll never steer you wrong. So you do what your heart tells you to do.
It's beautiful. I know when my mother passed away, I tried to grieve properly, and being a man, I wouldn't let myself grieve, and I had to be strong, and I could handle it. And I was mildly depressed for 2 years, I think, because I wasn't just allowing myself to express how I needed to express, to come to terms with the physical loss of, not the spiritual, but the physical loss of my mother. And then when my father passed away, I loved my father just as much, but I allowed myself to be as I was, just as I was, in whatever moment that arose, just as it is. And there was some crying, and there was some anger, and there's some sadness, and there was some, I get emotional thinking about it now, but there was some just happiness at what a beautiful man he was, or could be.
Right.
And in the utter acceptance of all of the multicolored version of emotions, I wasn't depressed. I just had depressive thinking every now and again. It was kind of fleeting. And I would say, and I do not mean this disrespectfully, but my experience of my dad passing was quite effortless compared to my mum. And the effortlessness had nothing to do with the love I had for both parents, and everything to do with allowing myself to feel, not resisting my emotions and allowing it to overwhelm me, pass through like a wave.
Right.
And the wave grabs you, it throws you off, it rolls you around, then it's gone again. Like mental health is allowing yourself to feel.
It is. And in the resistance of not wanting to feel, that's where the suffering and the pain happens. But there's a quietness when you embrace it and surrender to it. I remember surrendering to the fact that Sophia was no longer physically here. And then there was a quietness, and then feelings of love and honor. Honor that I got to be her mom, and I got to raise her, and I got to carry her in my tummy, and I got to birth her. Nobody else, me. And so when we feel contracted and resistant, we know that we're pulled away from that heart space, that beautiful space within. And it's scary, but if we just embrace and allow and expand what is to be, what is, that's where we find peace.
Mm-hmm. When there's an allowing of experience just as it's arising, it's not that you get heartbroken. Your heart doesn't break. You find your heart expands. That feeling hollows your heart out to become bigger, become more expansive. It humbles you, it brings you to your knees, and you feel truly alive, because being truly alive is being in a life of love. Love involves all the different feelings. Feeling involves all the different feelings. So just feel through this divine, spiritual, physical existence, and allow it to move past. And as the emotions move on, then your life moves on. And there's a newness that comes that takes you to places you didn't believe were possible, and it can be a really, really beautiful life, a life of no resistance, an unconditional life. And to me, you really embody that. When I first met you that time, you spoke about Sophia and Seth. There was just this moving onness. Not that if you move on when someone dies, you're not disrespecting them, you're not forgetting them. They will want you to be happy, they'll want you to move on and be happy. So moving on doesn't mean lack of love, it just means an embracing of love.
And loving them in this new form, in this new way, in this new now, just as it is.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. So we hope that's kind of helpful. Jules is writing a book about her experiences. And we've got more videos around loss. So you're more than welcome to go to Innate Evolution and go deeper.
We love you.
Lots of love, guys. Take care.
Bye.